I, 26F, never thought I'd be in this situation. My older sister Natalie, 28F, recently married my ex-boyfriend Ryan, 31M, who I dated for 2 years in college. Our relationship was toxic and abusive, but I didn't realize how bad it was until after we broke up. Growing up, Natalie and I were inseparable despite our 2-year age gap. We shared a room, clothes, and secrets. Our parents, both busy lawyers, often worked long hours, so we relied on each other for companionship. We'd spend hours playing make-believe in our backyard, creating elaborate fantasy worlds where we were princesses or spies. As we got older, our bond remained strong. We'd stay up late talking about boys, our dreams for the future, and our fears. Natalie was always the more outgoing one, while I was shyer and more reserved. She'd encourage me to come out of my shell and would always stick up for me if anyone tried to bully me at school. When Natalie left for college, it was hard being apart for the first time. We'd call each other every day, and I'd visit her on weekends whenever I could. She'd tell me all about college life, and I couldn't wait to join her. When it was finally my turn to go to college 2 years later, I was thrilled to be reunited with my sister. We'd always talked about going to the same school, and now our dream was coming true. It was during my freshman year that I met Ryan. He was a junior and seemed so mature and worldly to my 18-year-old self. We met at a party Natalie had brought me to. She was friends with Ryan's roommate and introduced us. Ryan was charming and attentive, making me feel special in a way no guy ever had before. He asked for my number that night, and we started texting constantly. Our first date was magical. Ryan took me to a fancy restaurant off campus, somewhere I'd never have been able to afford on my own. He ordered wine for us both, even though I was underage, making me feel sophisticated and grown up. We talked for hours about our families, our dreams, our favorite books and movies. It felt like we had everything in common. Things moved quickly after that. Within a few weeks, we were officially a couple. I was head over heels in love for the first time. Ryan would surprise me with flowers and little gifts. He'd leave sweet notes in my textbooks for me to find during class. He always wanted to spend time with me, which I found flattering. Looking back, I can see the red flags that were there from the beginning. Ryan would get jealous if I talked to other guys, even just classmates working on group projects. He'd question me about my male friends and suggest I shouldn't hang out with them anymore. He'd make comments about my clothes, saying certain outfits were too revealing and I should change. But at the time, I thought he was just being protective, and that it meant he really cared about me. As the months went by, Ryan's controlling behavior escalated. He'd get angry if I didn't answer his calls or texts right away. He started showing up unannounced at my dorm room or the library where I was studying. He'd accuse me of cheating if I was even a few minutes late meeting him somewhere. I started walking on eggshells around him, afraid of setting off his temper. I confided in Natalie about some of Ryan's behavior, but I downplayed how bad it was. I was embarrassed to admit I was in such a toxic relationship. Natalie expressed some concern, but I assured her everything was fine. I didn't want her to think I couldn't handle my first serious relationship. The physical abuse started about a year into our relationship. The first time it happened, we were arguing about me going to a party without him. He grabbed my arm so hard it left bruises. He was immediately apologetic, crying and begging for forgiveness. He swore it would never happen again. I believed him and didn't tell anyone what had happened. But it did happen again. And again. The abuse got worse over time. He'd slap me, push me, throw things at me. Once he punched me in the stomach so hard I couldn't breathe. Another time he choked me until I almost passed out. After each incident, he'd be remorseful and shower me with affection, promising to change. I kept hoping things would get better, that the sweet guy I'd fallen for would come back. I became isolated from my friends and family. I stopped hanging out with anyone but Ryan. My grades started slipping because I was so stressed all the time. I lost weight because I was too anxious to eat. Natalie noticed the changes in me and tried to talk to me about it, but I pushed her away. I was ashamed and afraid to admit what was really going on. The final straw came just after my 21st birthday. Ryan and I had a huge fight because I'd gone out for drinks with some girlfriends to celebrate. He was furious that I'd gone without him. When I got home, he was waiting in my apartment. He had a key by then. He flew into a rage, hitting me repeatedly and threatening to kill me if I ever tried to leave him. I genuinely feared for my life that night. The next day, while Ryan was at work, I packed up as much as I could and fled to Natalie's apartment. When she saw my bruised face, she broke down crying. I finally told her everything. She wanted to go to the police, but I was too scared. Instead, she helped me block Ryan's number and social media accounts. She let me stay with her until I found a new apartment where Ryan wouldn't know the address. The months after the breakup were incredibly difficult. I had nightmares and panic attacks. I was jumpy and afraid to go out alone. I finally agreed to see a therapist, which helped me start to process the trauma of the abuse. Slowly, I began to heal and rebuild my life. Natalie was my rock during this time. She'd stay up with me when I couldn't sleep, hold me when I cried, and reassure me that I was strong and would get through this. She went with me to therapy appointments and helped me catch up on the schoolwork I'd fallen behind on. Her support was invaluable in my recovery. Over the next few years, I focused on myself. I threw myself into my studies and graduated with honors. I got a good job at a marketing firm in our hometown. I made new friends and even started cautiously dating again. I felt like I was finally in a good place. Then, about 6 months ago, Natalie dropped a bombshell on me. She and Ryan had reconnected and started dating. I was blindsided. How could my own sister, who had seen firsthand what Ryan had done to me, be with him? I felt betrayed and sick to my stomach. Natalie claimed Ryan had changed. She said he'd been to anger management classes and therapy. She insisted he was a different person now. But I couldn't believe it. The Ryan I knew was a master manipulator. I was sure he was just putting on an act to fool Natalie. I begged Natalie to reconsider, reminding her of everything Ryan had done to me. But she dismissed my concerns, saying it was all in the past and I needed to move on. She accused me of being jealous and trying to ruin her happiness. Our relationship, once so close, became strained and distant. My parents were conflicted about the situation. They didn't approve of Natalie dating Ryan, knowing what he'd done to me, but they also didn't want to alienate their older daughter. They tried to stay neutral at first, which just made me feel unsupported and alone. Things escalated quickly. Within a few months, Natalie and Ryan were engaged. They planned a whirlwind wedding, seeming eager to make things official before anyone could talk them out of it. I told my family I wouldn't attend the wedding. I couldn't bear to watch my sister marry my abuser. Natalie was furious, accusing me of trying to ruin her special day. My parents finally took a stand and said they wouldn't go either if I wasn't welcome. The wedding was last month. Since then, Natalie, Ryan, and Ryan's family have been harassing me nonstop. They've been spreading vicious lies about me to our extended family and mutual friends. They're claiming I'm mentally unstable and that I made up the abuse allegations out of jealousy. Ryan's mother even called my workplace, trying to get me fired by claiming I was an unstable drug addict, which is completely false. I've blocked them on every platform I can think of, but they keep creating new accounts to contact me. They show up at my apartment unannounced, pounding on the door and yelling. Ryan has threatened to expose me by releasing private photos or videos from when we dated. I'm not sure if he actually has anything, or if he's bluffing, but the threat alone is terrifying. I'm at my wit's end dealing with their harassment. I'm considering getting a restraining order, but I'm not sure if that will make things better or worse. I just want them out of my life for good. The stress is affecting my work and my health. I've started having panic attacks again, something I haven't experienced in years. I feel like I'm living a nightmare. The person who was once my best friend in the world is now married to the man who abused me, and they're both seemingly intent on destroying my life. I don't know how to make it stop. Update 1. It's been about a month since my last post, and unfortunately things have only escalated with Natalie and Ryan's harassment. After careful consideration and discussion with my therapist, I decided to file for a temporary restraining order against both Natalie and Ryan 2 weeks ago. I had compiled extensive documentation of their harassment, screenshots of their constant messages and emails, security camera footage of them showing up uninvited at my home and workplace, and recordings of threatening voicemails. The judge reviewed the evidence and granted the temporary order. We have a hearing scheduled next month to determine if it will be made permanent. Natalie's reaction to being served with the restraining order was explosive. She showed up at our parents' house in a rage, screaming and crying about how I was tearing the family apart. She accused me of being vindictive and trying to punish her for being happy. Our parents, who have become much more supportive of me in recent weeks, stood firm. They told Natalie that she had brought this on herself by choosing Ryan over her own sister. Ryan's response was even more disturbing. He started leaving threatening voicemails for me at work, blatantly violating the restraining order. In one particularly chilling message, he said he was going to make me pay for trying to keep him away from his wife. He said I would regret crossing him and that he knew people who could take care of me if he wanted. I immediately reported these messages to the police. The day after I reported the voicemails, I woke up to find my car had been vandalized overnight. All 4 tires were slashed and the word liar was keyed into the driver's side door. While I can't prove it was Ryan, the timing seems far too coincidental. I filed another police report and had to get my car towed to a repair shop. My workplace has been incredibly supportive through all of this. After Ryan's mother tried to get me fired with her false accusations, my boss sat down with me to discuss the situation. I was honest about everything that had happened, showing him the restraining order and police reports. He assured me that my job was secure and that the company would support me however they could. They've since implemented tighter security measures. No non-employees are allowed into the building without an escort. My desk has been moved to a more secure area away from windows and doors. They've allowed me to work from home as much as possible to minimize the risk of Ryan or Natalie showing up at the office. The stress of the situation has been taking a toll on my mental health. I've started seeing my therapist twice a week to help cope with the anxiety and renewed PTSD symptoms. Having to relive the trauma of my abusive relationship with Ryan in order to document everything for the restraining order has brought up a lot of painful memories I thought I'd dealt with. I've been having nightmares again, waking up in a cold sweat thinking Ryan is in my room. I'm jumpy and paranoid, constantly looking over my shoulder when I'm out in public. I've lost weight because my appetite is gone and I can barely sleep. It feels like I'm right back where I was when I first left Ryan, undoing years of healing and progress. The one bright spot in all of this has been the unwavering support of my parents and friends. After initially trying to stay neutral, my parents have now fully taken my side. They've made it clear to Natalie that they don't approve of her choices and won't have a relationship with her as long as she's with Ryan. My mom has been staying with me most nights, so I'm not alone. Having her there has been a huge comfort. My friends have rallied around me as well. They take turns driving me to work since I'm without a car at the moment. They come over to keep me company in the evenings and make sure I'm eating. They've been helping me document every incident of harassment to build an even stronger case for the permanent restraining order. I'm trying to stay hopeful that the hearing next month will result in a long-term order that will finally put an end to Natalie and Ryan's campaign of terror. But I'm also realistic about the fact that they may continue to escalate. Ryan has shown he has no respect for the law or for my boundaries. I'm taking every precaution I can to stay safe, but I'm constantly on edge waiting for their next move. Part of me still can't believe this is my reality. That my own sister, who I was once so close to, could betray me like this. That she could watch me suffer through years of abuse and then turn around and marry my abuser. There are moments when I'm overwhelmed by grief for the relationship we once had and the sister I've lost. But then I remind myself that the Natalie I knew and loved is gone. The person she's become, someone who would deliberately inflict pain on her own sister, is a stranger to me. As much as it hurts, I know I'm better off without her in my life. I have to focus on protecting myself now. I'm trying to take things one day at a time and not let fear consume me. I'm throwing myself into my work when I can focus, trying to maintain some sense of normalcy. I'm leaning on my support system and trying to practice the coping skills I've learned in therapy. It's a daily struggle, but I'm determined not to let Ryan and Natalie destroy everything I've worked so hard to build. Update 2. It's been about 2 months since my last update. The hearing for the permanent restraining order was last week. I'm relieved to say it was granted against both Natalie and Ryan for 1 year. In the weeks leading up to the hearing, Natalie and Ryan's harassment campaign kicked into high gear. They seemed determined to discredit me and paint themselves as the victims before we got to court. They created a website filled with lies about me, claiming I was actually the abusive one in the relationship with Ryan. They said I was emotionally unstable and had a history of making false accusations against men. They even dug up and twisted stories from our childhood, claiming I'd always been jealous of Natalie and was now trying to destroy her marriage out of spite. They sent the link to this website to our entire extended family, all our mutual friends from college, and even my coworkers. While most people saw through their lies, it was still humiliating to have my personal business spread around like that. Some distant relatives and old acquaintances who didn't know the full story started reaching out, asking if I was okay, or expressing concern about my mental health. It was exhausting having to constantly defend myself and rehash the painful details of my past. The day before the hearing, I received an anonymous email with several old intimate photos of me attached. The message threatened to release them publicly if I went through with the restraining order. I was shaken but decided not to let their blackmail attempts stop me from protecting myself. I forwarded the email to my lawyer to add to our evidence for the hearing. At the courthouse, I was a nervous wreck. Seeing Ryan again in person for the first time in years made me feel physically ill. He and Natalie tried to approach me in the hallway before the hearing began, but thankfully my lawyer intercepted them. Once we were before the judge, I presented all the evidence of their harassment, the threatening messages, the keyed car, the defamatory website, and the blackmail attempt with the photos. My therapist testified about the PTSD symptoms I've been experiencing as a result of their actions. My boss spoke about the disruption to my work and the security measures they've had to implement. Ryan tried to claim it was all a misunderstanding and that he just wanted to clear the air with me. He said he and Natalie were worried about me and just wanted to make amends. He painted himself as a changed man who had worked hard to overcome his past mistakes. Natalie backed him up, saying I was blowing everything out of proportion because I couldn't accept their relationship. Thankfully, the judge saw right through their act. She noted that their actions went far beyond any attempts at reconciliation and constituted a clear pattern of harassment and intimidation. She granted the restraining order and sternly warned Ryan and Natalie that any further contact or retaliation would result in criminal charges. I felt a huge wave of relief leaving the courthouse. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe easier knowing I had legal protection from their abuse. But I also knew this was likely just the beginning of a long road ahead. Unfortunately, my relationship with Natalie seems permanently destroyed. As we left the courthouse, she screamed at me in the parking lot that I was dead to her, and she never wanted to see me again. As painful as it is, I think a permanent estrangement may be for the best. I don't recognize the person my sister has become. My parents are devastated at the situation but continue to support me fully. They've made it clear to Natalie that they won't have a relationship with her as long as she's with Ryan. It's tearing them apart to be estranged from their older daughter, but they understand the need to protect me. I'm focusing now on healing and moving forward with my life. I'm looking into moving to a new apartment where Natalie and Ryan don't know the address. I'm also considering accepting a job transfer to a different city to get a fresh start somewhere they can't find me easily. It's been a hellish few months, but I finally feel like I'm coming out the other side stronger. I'm proud of myself for standing up to my abuser and not letting him or my sister bully me into silence. I know the road ahead won't be easy, but I'm determined to reclaim my life and find happiness again. Update 3. It's been about 6 weeks since the restraining order was granted, and things have finally started to calm down. Natalie and Ryan seem to have given up on harassing me, at least for now. I haven't heard from either of them since the day of the hearing. After a lot of consideration, I decided to accept the job transfer I was offered. I moved to a new city about 3 hours away last week. It was bittersweet leaving my hometown, but I already feel so much safer and more at peace here. I'm in an apartment building with good security, and I've been careful not to post anything about my new location on social media. The company I work for has been incredibly supportive through this whole ordeal. They're letting me work remotely most of the time and have implemented extra security measures for when I do go into the office. My new team has been welcoming, and it feels good to throw myself into work without constantly looking over my shoulder. I'm slowly settling into my new apartment and trying to make it feel like home. I've joined a group for domestic violence survivors, which has been really healing. It helps to talk to others who understand what I've been through. I'm making an effort to get out and explore my new city, trying to push past the anxiety and reclaim my independence. My parents came to visit last weekend to help me unpack. It was emotional saying goodbye to them, knowing I won't see them as often now, but they agree this move is what's best for my safety and mental health. They've promised to visit often, and we've set up weekly video chats to stay connected. They updated me on the situation with Natalie. Apparently, she showed up at their house a couple weeks ago in tears, saying Ryan had hit her during an argument. They tried to convince her to leave him, but she made excuses for his behavior and went back to him the next day. It breaks my heart to know she's now trapped in the same abusive cycle I was. I hope someday she finds the strength to leave him, but I know I can't be the one to help her. I need to protect myself first. I'm cautiously optimistic about this new chapter in my life. For the first time in months, I'm excited about the future instead of living in constant anxiety and fear. I know there may still be tough times ahead, but I feel stronger and more capable of handling whatever comes my way. I'm working on rebuilding my support network here. I've reconnected with an old college friend who lives nearby, and she's been showing me around the city. I'm looking into joining some hobby groups to meet new people. My therapist helped me find a new counselor here to continue my treatment. There are still moments when I'm overwhelmed by everything that's happened. I have days where I miss my old life and the close relationship I used to have with Natalie. But then I remind myself of how far I've come and how much healthier and happier I am now. I'm focusing on self-care and rediscovering the things that bring me joy. I've started painting again, something I loved in college but gave up during my relationship with Ryan. I'm taking a yoga class and learning to cook new recipes. Small steps, but they help me feel like I'm reclaiming pieces of myself. I know this journey isn't over. I'll likely be dealing with the aftermath of the abuse and the fallout with my sister for years to come. But for the first time in a long time, I feel hopeful about the future. I'm proud of myself for being strong enough to leave, to stand up for myself, and to start over. Thank you to everyone who has supported me through this nightmare. Your kindness and encouragement helped me find the strength to stand up for myself and reclaim my life. I'm eternally grateful, and I hope my story can help others who might be in similar situations. If you're in an abusive relationship, please know that you're not alone and that there is hope for a better future.